be more than human.
Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Joseph Carroll. I write under the pen name J.R. Carroll, and today we are finally getting to Dune. And this has been a long time coming. This month is a big sci-fi month for me. If you haven't seen what I'm planning on reading this month, but I had these two like legendary sci-fi books on the docket this month. One was Hyperion, and then the other was, of course, Dune. And I've already went through Hyperion and posted a review for that. And then just yesterday I finished up Dune, and I can tell how much influence Dune has had across the spectrum of sci-fi and even fantasy, really. And it definitely influenced Hyperion, which I read earlier, Star Wars, a lot of stuff, a lot of different stuff. But coming into this book, there's a lot of hype surrounding it. The best-selling sci-fi book of all time, as it's marketed many times. And I think I know why it's the best-selling. Not just because it's a good book, but because it has so many different editions, so many different covers. I'm definitely going to get my hands on a few of them because Dune might have the collection of the most beautiful covers I've ever seen. I mean, there's books that have some really good covers, but I think Dune as a whole has so many different great covers to it. But let's jump into the actual story here. And Dune is set on this kind of desolate, desert of a planet. But this planet has something that the entire, galaxy wants, and that is this stuff they call spice. It has has a bunch of, different applications, but it's kind of a stimulant drug, if you will. But here on this planet, water is, currency, and it is, everyone talks not just about like drinking or thirst or water, but it's moisture that they say over and over again in this book. They wear these suits and these respirators that help, keep the moisture in your body. And they go through a whole thing right at the beginning when they talk about the suits, and they're like, oh, this is the best suit, this is the best suit you want, and you'll only lose a thimble full of water or a thimble full of moisture, in the desert in a day. But we follow our main it seems like our two main characters are Paul and his mother Jessica. And I almost feel like the story is like, or the characters are kind of secondary to the world and the plot and the story that Frank Herbert wants to tell. I'm more of a character-driven reader, but I really liked Jessica. I actually think Jessica was probably my favorite character here. Paul, especially in the first half of the book, I wasn't so interested in Paul. I didn't really think he had much character development, and I still, even after this is a good sized book, like a 700-page book, I still don't feel like the characters themselves were fleshed out as much as the world and the situation, was fleshed out. And I'm not the first to say this. I've seen other people talk about it where it seems like, Frank was more interested in, getting a discussion going about these type of things. But there's a heavy, and again, this may be kind of what influenced Hyperion, because Hyperion has a lot of religious undertones, but not even undertones, like in your face. And this kind of has the same thing. It's like kind of like an Islamic, whereas Hyperion was more like Catholic. religious thing to it. But things I really did like, I've become, the more I read, especially when I read fantasy and stuff, the more I enjoy concepts and seeds of ideas, and if you can sprout those ideas out. And I think that's the best part of Dune. Even though it's 1965, so everybody is kind of either ripped off or took parts of it. But because I'm not a huge sci-fi reader, I'm just really starting to get into it. Um, maybe some other people wouldn't think it was fresh if they read it now, but I did. I really liked the way that they talk about the worms and how the spice is actually created, and how, yes, this is a desert planet, but there is water, and there's a lot of it if you know where to look. Um, but it's your quintessential, families and corporations and factions are fighting over resources. Um, and even though this planet is seemingly bone dry and water is a big resource, it's really not about the water. It's about the spice. And who can control the spice, controls the planet, really. And there's not a lot of action in this book. So if you're a heavy action person, maybe this isn't the one for you. Um, but there is a little bit here and there. But this is super heavy on the concept, and kind of making you think. I'm interested to see, like, all the books are a lot shorter than this book, especially the next book. The next book is less than half its size. So I'm really interested to see where we go. And I actually think that I think I will like the second book more, because of some things that happen right at the end of the book that um, really are impactful to the characters. So I feel like the characters will be more of a thing, and more of a, to the forefront of the story in the second book. And I think I think Frank Herbert wrote like 5 sequels or 4 sequels to this, and then his son and some other people kind of expanded the Dune universe. But let me know, if you've read Dune, or is Dune on your TBR. And if you enjoy reviews like this, check out my Patreon. I have some pretty cool stuff in there for everybody. And remember, be more than human.